Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to talk to you all about our retreats and how to sell out our retreats. So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Adrian. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm very grateful that you gave me this opportunity to be here today talking about one of my favorite things, which is reading.
Awesome. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, Manu. And so, just to get started, I'd love for you to share a little bit like how did you get started in like yoga and in the retreat sort of business as well?
So both things for me kind of came together, retreats and yoga, because the moment I decided to become a yoga teacher, that was around 2007, and 3 years before I tried my first yoga class. I really loved it, and then that was around 2004. Over the next 3 years, I will practice now and then. Really loved yoga. Really helped me to feel better with myself. And then in 2007, I decided, I wanted to become a yoga teacher. I really loved the practice, and I wanted to share with other people. And so when I started to do my first teacher training, and I was in Italy, I happened to meet someone who owned a yoga retreat. And this was in the south of Italy. Back then, I was living in Italy. And this person, we connected a lot because we were doing this teacher training together. And we would travel from the south of Italy to the north of Italy once a month. And we were doing this teacher training journey together, which, as you know, a teacher training is something that, how do you connect with other people that are doing that? You are kind of in the same transformational journey. Mm-hmm. So because this friend, she owned a yoga retreat, she proposed me to work in there for the next season. That was the summer of 2008. And I was just like, oh, wow, I was completely new to yoga retreats. Of course, I was becoming more and more familiar with yoga because I already had practice. I started my teacher training, but then I was fascinated about this idea of working somewhere where people would come to practice yoga and to feel better about themselves. It was like a kind of a different type of holiday, so to speak. And so I started to work there. That was the summer of 2008, and I absolutely loved to not only to be able to develop as a yoga teacher, because since I was working there, I was able to practice with all of the, big names, all of the teachers that they would come. I was always learning something new. But also, I was seeing all of the behind the scenes of what's happening in a yoga retreat, which one day, Adrian, I think I want to write a book about this. But anyway, that's another story.
That sounds like it would be a very immersive experience and directly into the retreat world from a teacher's perspective. So it makes sense that you sort of ended up going that way as well. And then when did you start running your own retreat?
So my first retreat, it was in 2016. So the moment I started to work there, 2008, and I started to see all the yoga teachers running their own retreats, I was like, oh my gosh, this is something that one day I want to do. I want to run my own retreat. I want to lead my own retreat. But the first time I led my own retreat, that was in 2016, and that was in Thailand. And I absolutely loved it. By then, I already have also worked not only in that retreat in Italy, but I also started to work in another retreat center in Thailand. And I also had some collaborations with some retreat leaders that needed some help and support for their retreats. And so I had like a little bit of a background and experience already, not only as a yoga teacher, but also in the retreat environment, and also seeing how other retreat leaders were running their retreats and so on.
Do you think there's certain types of skills that yoga teachers need to be able to run retreats? Like, because there's a lot of organization rather than just actually the hosting part of it.
Yes, there is a lot of organization. That's absolutely the truth. And there are so many things, so many pieces of this puzzle, that you want to put together. So for sure, you need to be very organized. You need to have, I think having those organizational skills are going to be super helpful for yoga teachers. You cannot like kind of go with the flow here and do, whereas at the end of the day, you are working with people that are investing on a high ticket program. So you want to give a seamless experience. You want to be organized. You want to make sure that each and every person, it's going to have a great experience. And the best way to do that is to be organized. You also need to have a little bit of leadership kind of skills. And this is not something you are born with, I believe, because this is something you can also develop. In my case, I would like few years back, I would not consider myself as a leader. I would be like a kind of a not very extrovert person or not someone that would put myself in front of a group of people. And this is something that I have developed over the years. So perhaps some yoga teachers, they may not feel that they are a leader right now, but just to let you know, this is something that you can develop over time, and there is no reason to worry if that is not the case right now. But yes, you're definitely going to develop that muscle, and because this is what you are when you are leading a retreat, you become the leader, and you are the person who kind of take the whole group through the whole experience, which in itself it's a powerful experience, and it will bring up the best and the worst of everyone. So you need to have that aspect as well, for sure.
Yeah, I can see that because there's just like a lot of intense energy, I suppose, during the actual retreat for people. And for yourself organizing it, I imagine, because there's a lot of moving pieces there. Because there's all of this, so much energy involved in it. What do you see as the benefits of including retreats in your yoga business? How does in your office suite? Why should people run retreats?
My gosh, there are so many benefits. Where do I? Well, the first one I would say, Adrian, it's the excitement of traveling as a group, with a group of people traveling. You don't have to do the retreat anywhere internationally. You can also do in your own country. But just the fact of taking a group of people and going somewhere, creating a container where you know that the magic is going to happen, that it's already on itself, that it's a great benefit, which I think it's a really great experience for a yoga teacher. It's a great experience. It's an opportunity for growth, and not only as a leader, as we were mentioning before, but also as a teacher. You get to teach out of the regular way that you will be teaching, and that on itself is also another great benefit. Another thing that I can think of is like it kind of stretches your experience. It makes you expand your overall experience. You were talking before about what are the skills that are required. There are some skills that you may not be using right now, but because you decided to undertake this project and to create this retreat experience, then there are some parts of yourself that are going to have to be a little bit more at work. For instance, your logistical part of the brain, might need to be there when you get to calculate the numbers, when you get to organize the rooms for the people and so on. And then the other benefits that I find are really, really good. One of them, of course, is the freedom. It gives you freedom because if this is part of your retreat model, or even if you want to just do retreats as a yoga teacher, you don't need to be specifically in any location. For instance, myself, I'm from Spain. I have my business registered in Spain, but right now, as I'm talking to you, I am here in Thailand because this is where I try to live the most of the times, because basically my husband's here and we have a house here. So, but that means you have the freedom to be anywhere in the world, organizing your retreat. And then, of course, when it's the retreat time, you're going to go to the venue, you're going to go to the location and do that. And finally, the last benefit, and this is something I would like to talk a little bit more about today, later on in the interview, but the last benefit is that a retreat is usually a good revenue. If well priced, this could be a good source of revenue. When I say well priced, what I mean, Adrian, is you want to make sure that all of the expenses that it would take to run your retreat, so you are considering the room for your guests, the food, any extra activities that you want to include, etc. All of that is included in the pricing, plus your revenue as a leader. How much do you want to make? How much is it going to cost? Those two elements are combined together. That is going to allow you to make a good revenue. And let's face it, if you're planning to do a retreat, just bear in mind that there is so much to do. There is so much work, and it's a big undertaking, big responsibility. You are taking a group of people and you are guiding them through this big experience. So you want to be gentle on yourself and you want to be generous.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to bring up, because we often forget about paying ourselves a lot, especially as new business owners. How many hours would you say you put in? Like, I guess it'll get easier the longer you're doing them, but like you see people, because you coach people to do this themselves, how many hours for that first year to run that first retreat are they probably putting in?
That's a very tricky question. I would say a lot of hours. Let me think. I would need to think about that because, well, first of all, I think it would depend on each and every person. There are some people that are a little bit more, they might be a little bit faster at, producing and creating content. Because bear in mind that one of the biggest, for me, actually, when I think about the retreat, one of the biggest chunks of work, so to speak, it's pre-retreat. Because during the retreat, it's kind of, for me, actually, maybe because I have this retreat experience, it might not be the same for other teachers, but for me, during retreat time, it's kind of easy. It's like, okay, I got this, everything is all and so on. But pre-retreat, there is so much, and you need to do a big work of marketing. All of the marketing part needs to be there. Creating all of the landing pages for your retreat, all of the marketing material, even creating an email list. So sometimes it's tricky to answer this question because where does this start? For me, the retreat starts from the moment you decide who this retreat is going to be for, and you start creating an email list or a way to connect with people that are going to be fit for that retreat. And we can talk a little bit more about that later, but how many hours? I would tell you a lot of hours. A lot of hours. You need to calculate for the hour. You would be surprised of how little it can be if you don't price your retreat well. So that's why I say be generous, give yourself a good chunk of revenue. I know for some people, this may feel a little bit intimidating because the prices are going to go higher than average. But I can tell you that many people who are out there selling retreats right now, many of them are probably not doing a profit if they count all of the hours that they are putting in there. And second of all, I also see that many people need to lower the prices because somehow don't have the ability to reflect the value of what they are offering into their marketing material. So what I suggest here to do instead is to really get to create a powerful marketing strategy and really showcase the value of your retreat, and then ask in accordance. Like the money you would ask for that retreat, it's going to reflect on the value that you are providing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so yeah, it's finding that balance between not undercutting yourself and then making sure that you are delivering on what you've promised effectively.
Absolutely. That's really important, that point as well, Adrian, and I'm glad that you bring that in. It's also delivering what you have promised, because otherwise you wouldn't be delivering something that you don't want to be delivering something that you don't want to be marketing something that you are not going to be able to deliver, because that's going to put you on a lot of, first of all, stress and a difficult situation and unhappy people. Yeah.
And also, if it's something that you want to regularly be able to do, then you can't really be able to get those testimonials and build that repeat potential client list as well. So we'll be serving yourself. You've done a lot of retreats now since you've started being in retreats so long. When did you decide to start coaching and helping other yoga teachers get into the retreat business?
So actually, the helping a retreat the retreat leaders and the yoga teachers with their retreats, it's something that has been a little bit more recent on my career. I've been helping yoga teachers. I started to really dive and specialize only on yoga teachers since 2020, when we had the, with all of the COVID-19 regulations and, people needed to go online and needed to teach online. That was the moment that I decided that until that moment, I was also teaching yoga and teaching fitness and serving in other ways. But from 2020, I decided that it was time for me to focus on that single niche, which is yoga teachers, wellness professionals. And I was first started doing the business marketing, getting online and all of that stuff. But the retreat thing came around 2022 or 2023, which is more or less recently. And the reason being is because I had this around that time, 2022, 2023, I had this career opportunity that came for me in a hotel in Spain called Six Senses Ibiza, and they are like a big, very well known brand, especially here in Asia. And they needed someone to organize their retreats because they wanted to do retreats. It's a huge, massive hotel. They didn't know how to do that. And so they needed someone. And I was the person who assumed the role of the retreats director in that company. And so what happened there, I was talking a lot with retreat leaders who would come or who wanted to come to teach a retreat to that hotel. And, I started to get a lot of questions, about how to do this, how to do that. Sometimes I would sit with the retreat leaders, those who were coming, and give them some tips on, how would they do this or that. And then I decided that, okay, this is also retreats is a big part of my journey, because actually, since I started in 2008, and then I've been working internationally, in Italy, Spain, Thailand. So I was like, okay, let's keep doing this.
Yeah, and then it's just continued from there. So the other thing I wanted to ask you as well is, we seem to have seen like a really big resurgence in retreats since all of COVID. We luckily opened up again. We're starting to finally, which is very exciting. And I seem to get retreats constantly. Is the retreat business oversaturated, do you think?
Is the retreat business oversaturated? Okay, let me answer this way. If you are doing non-specific and non-target, generic and boring retreats, the answer is yes.
Nice.
And let me break down what I mean by this.
Okay.
If your retreat offering is non-specific, and for instance, you don't get to say and to determine who your retreat is, what your retreat is about, what your retreat is about, beyond yoga and wellness. I get to the internet, I get to Facebook groups, I get to retreat websites, and I see thousands of yoga and well-being retreats. Of course, it's oversaturated of yoga and well-being retreats, okay? Instead, if you get to really focus and address a certain type of problems, and you get to provide certain type of benefits with your retreat, if you ask yourself, what are the problems that I'm going to be addressing to my participants, and what are the benefits they're going to get away from my retreat, then that will set you apart from the oversaturated market, because then you are creating an offering that is different, that is bringing something new, that is bringing something specific. Same thing would go for your ideal retreat attendee. If it's not defined, it's going to make a very generic retreat. Sometimes, Adrian, we might have the idea, or we might have this wishful thinking, that we are going to create an offering, that it's not going to be a specific, and that we are going to put it out there in the internet, and that magically someone will find the link and will sign up for the retreat. And the only reason someone would sign up for a retreat, if they don't know, if it's because it would be very target and specific for them. So again, this is another way to make your retreat more tailored to a specific part of the population, to a specific niche. That would also help you differentiate yourself for that overcrowded world of retreats, you know? So again, it comes down to define what do you really want to offer, make that experience unique, and just be open to the idea of doing a retreat that is not for everyone who is surfing the internet. Doing a retreat who is for a particular person. Yeah. And then it is important also, Adrian, that your retreat page or your retreat marketing, it's intentionally also showing all of the value that you are giving into these retreats. And that goes a little bit also to stick with what I talked about before. It's that, you know, you get to see a lot of retreats that are underpriced. And usually I can tell you that those retreats that are like kind of yoga and wellness, undefined, I don't know who this is for retreat, and tend to be the ones that are like with a kind of a lower price, because it's almost like a kind of it's almost like a circle. It's like, okay, you get to create an offering that is not showing value. So you need to eventually lower the price if you want to sell it, because there is no way that you can sell something at a high price if you are not able to convey the value through the market. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. It ties back into the, are you able to deliver some actual value with it as well? And if you're more specific about what that value is, then it's going to tie into that whole marketing and niching you down.
Sorry, the idea here it's to create something that it's different and that it's unique by not only providing that value, but by creating that for a certain niche, for a certain group of people. And so that will make also your offering different than other offerings.
How many people do you recommend people have in their retreats, just to give an idea of how many spaces people really need to sell when they're doing this very niche model?
It really depends. I have seen people, I never done this myself, but I have seen people that do private retreats for one person.
Oh, wow.
Of course, this you would aim for probably not many people are able to afford a private retreat. So that you would aim for a certain kind of niche. People usually who have a certain kind of income are going to be the ones that are going to be able to come to those retreats. For group retreats, it really depends on you. It really depends on how many people you feel comfortable with on your retreat. If it's your first time, I would recommend to do somewhere from 5 to 12-ish people. Perhaps that could be a good number. However, coming back to what we were talking about before about the pricing, when you are planning for your retreat and you are planning the pricing, something really important is also to understand how many people you want to have. Because based on that, you can determine also what is the minimum people that you want to have. What is the minimum people you want to have and what's the maximum people? Because knowing your minimum numbers, the minimum number of people that are going to join your retreat, then you can price your retreat in a way that, okay, if you have this number of people, you are not going to be, you are actually reaching your revenue goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's helpful just to bear in mind for the next part when you're talking about selling your offers, because it can seem a bit daunting, I guess, to sell them, but it's a little bit more logistically in your brain. If you're like, I only need to find 5 to 12 people in this niche in the world that want to join me versus trying to appeal to everyone, you know, like I'm sure there's going to be 5 to 12 or 15 people that fit into that niche that will be clients for you. Makes sense.
That's a great way to put it. And that can be very motivational, especially if you feel discouraged because perhaps, you know, it's taking you a little bit of longer extra time to sell your spots or something. It's like, that is a really good thing to think about. Because if you know your numbers, then you know that, okay, you're going to have like perhaps 4 or 5 people. Maybe that's your minimum number. And you're like, I'm sure I can make this.
Yeah. And I think that helps with not stressing about not appealing to everyone, you know, as well, like really narrowing in, because you're like, there are this many people. These aren't hundreds that you're trying to find. So down to the nitty gritty, we've got our beautiful niche retreat. How do we then go and sell it? What actions can we do to sell out this retreat and find 5 to 12 people, or whatever your number is,
All right, so let's start. What we're gonna do here, Adrian, we're gonna go one by one. I have a few items here in the list, and we're gonna be also seeing the time frames for each of them. Before we start, one of the things I like to say also about time frames is especially if this is the first time that you are doing a retreat, but for anyone who is planning a retreat, even if it's not your first one, I would recommend at least to give yourself between 6 months and 1 year. That's less than 6 months, I would say, a little bit tricky. Even myself, when I'm just launch it's not a retreat, but it's not technically a retreat. It's a bootcamp, but it has all of the retreat elements. I did it a couple of weeks ago that I launched the landing page, and I'm giving myself 1 year. And I've run retreats in the past, but I know there is so much to do. But even when I work with the retreat leaders, I always ask, we need to have 6 months at least, because you don't want to stress out and you don't want to bring that energy then into your marketing, into your retreat and all of that. So let's start. That's good. You give yourself enough time. That's a good advice to start with. What's the first thing you want to do? It's to build your specific email list and to nurture it. This goes a lot with the marketing. Often we think that marketing, that a good idea to do marketing would be to post or retweet in the retreat websites. I think that's an option, but I don't think it's the number one option. Why? Because you do have other retreat leaders that are also promoting the retreats there, but also because it has an extra cost. If someone books your retreat through a retreat website, you're going to have to bear in mind that there is a percentage of the profit that they're going to be taking. So that's not ideally my number one. I can recommend to do that if you are willing and if you calculated that amount that you're going to give away. There is no reason why you shouldn't do it if you want to, but I wouldn't say that would be the first channel to rely. Instead, the first channel to rely will be your email list. People who opt into your list, who have a closer relationship with you, people who you are nurturing now and then. I would say, that you are sending emails to them and you are talking to them about the offerings that you have, as well as sharing some content that it's going to be of great value for them. People who already know you as well, people who practice with you, people who came to your classes, who came to your retreats before. All of those people can be also a part of that email list that you're going to be connecting with. And for me, that is the first step. And as I say, I would give myself here at least 6 months, or even if you have the email list already, I would say give yourself 6 months to really, really nurture them and to talk about your retreat so that people can also organize themselves and have enough time to plan.
So is this asking people to opt in for your retreat, or would you get them to opt into something else like around your niche interest and then you like pitching your retreat, if that makes sense?
Yes, that makes sense. Let's say that you want people to opt in with, usually people will opt into your email list with some, through some piece of content, through some freebie. And what I would do here is like strategically thinking about what is that piece of content that they're going to be getting, opting into your email list, that then also that piece of content, it's going to be connected to the theme of your retreat or what you're going to be teaching on that retreat, so that you know that people that are entering into your email list, they have some interest on what you're going to be teaching. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Another thing that we're going to look at here is that when you are planning your retreat, somehow we need to connect the dots between your offering and your ideal client pain point. And I know we talk a lot about, in the business side of things, we talk a lot about the pain points. Sometimes we also get to talk about the desires. What are those desires of your ideal student or client? I don't care how do you call it. What are those things that your ideal client, your ideal retreat attendee, it's constantly thinking, what do they want in their life, and how you can connect the dots from your offering to what they are desiring in that moment of their lives. Does that make sense?
Yep. That makes sense.
So somehow you need to find that connection. I would say usually you need also to plan all of this in advance. I said before that you will need from 6 months to 12 months to plan your retreat. I would say the moment you are planning your retreat, you need to keep this into consideration. But those are things you need to have very clear before creating the landing page, creating all of the marketing material, and so on. Once the retreat is for sale, so you have your landing page up and running, you have your, you already have everything in that landing page. You will have information about the pricing, the location, you will have information about everything. Then what you need to do here is to rave about it everywhere. Talk about your retreat. There is this saying that says, if a tree, I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, Adrian, just let me know, but if a tree falls in the forest and no one sees it, does it really happen?
Yeah, that's right. Oh, yes, it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the same with your retreat. If you have your retreat in your computer, if you have all of the material, if you have it in your website, but you are not talking about it, is people really knowing that your retreat is there? Yeah. So get to talk about that, your list, your social media channels, people within your circles. Just tell people that you're running this retreat to your students, people who are attending your classes, people who are your private clients, anyone that you can convey these messages, share about this. And not only that, but also show the excitement. This is, imagine that someone would invite you to go to a party. You also want to feel that excitement, right?
Yeah.
That's also,
Yeah. Now I'm ready to listen to your quality.
yeah, I don't know if I want to go to a party. Yeah? If someone invites you to a party like that, I don't know if you want to go. I don't think I would want to go to a party.
Yeah.
You want to show that excitement. You also want to show the value. Remember, we were talking about this value we are providing. Remember that this retreat, when priced correctly, is a high ticket program. Usually, you also want to show the value. You talk about it when you share on social media, when you share with your list, when you talk with your students, show the value of your retreat. That's something super, super important as well. Highly recommended. The next step is to create the landing page. And as I say, ideally for this landing page, you ideally have 6 months from the moment you have your landing page until the moment the retreat is. I've seen retreat leaders that have done that in a shorter period of time, and even some of them have managed to sell out their retreats. I've seen all of that, but these people, they had a very loyal following, and they didn't need to have those 6 months in advance, because the moment they put the retreat out there, they have a bunch of people who sign up for it. But it's not always the case for many yoga teachers. So what I would say is that at least give yourself 6 months in advance from the moment you have that landing page ready, when people can go and click reserve my spot. From that moment until the retreat is happening, give yourself 6 months. And yeah, you want to create that landing page because it not only shows that it looks much more professional to have this on a website. This could be your website, or you also have other options. You have some websites out there that are specifically for this service, that you can host your retreat there, and you can basically create the landing page for this particular event. Regardless, if you do it in one way or the other, doesn't matter. But what's important is that retreat page has all of the information that needs to have there, including cancellation policy, benefits, who your retreat is for, and of course, a button where people can book their spot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's also a great place to just have everything that you can just refer people to really easily as well. So you've got all the information.
Exactly. People are going to ask you, where is the link?
Yeah.
When you are excitingly sharing about your retreat, with your people, people are gonna ask you, where is the link?
Mm.
That's what you're gonna sell. You're gonna give that link, and they're gonna have there all of the information. Another thing that I find really useful, and that, to me, this can be also an important one. Again, not the main point for doing your marketing, but one of the biggest one is to understand if the venue where you are hosting your retreat are going to support you with their marketing. That means if it's a retreat center, or if it's a hotel, whatever that is, that place that you are hosting your retreat, they probably are going to have a database. People who show interest or who came already to that hotel or to that retreat. And so this could be a great opportunity. Often in their websites, they also have a page that it's about what's coming. What do they have upcoming? At the end, if it's a benefit for everyone, because the more bookings you get, the better for the venue and the better for the retreat leader. So I think this is a good point also to consider. I wouldn't rely 100% on them, on the venue website, on the venue marketing, but I think this could be a great asset to have.
Yeah, I can see that. Even just from your perspective, you getting more trust with maybe people that are looking to book with you as well. Because if it's on your landing page, but then it's also on your beautiful retreat event upcoming, and they can sort of see it there, that would build some extra trust potentially.
Absolutely. It will build some extra trust as well from people. Bear in mind that also people who came to that venue before, they probably trust that venue already. So knowing that venue is also hosting your retreat, it's going to make it a little bit easier because they already know, like, and trust the venue. That's a positive point. I have seen like how some retreat leaders have benefit from that as well. How much time you should give in advance for that? I would say once you have all of the marketing materials ready, remember I say, if it's 6 months that you already have your landing page, from that moment on, you can already also pass all of that information to your venue. If it's not 6 months, 4 months, that's already gives you plenty of time for the retreat to be marketed. Another thing that you can do to sell your retreat, and I know this is going to be intimidating for many yoga teachers, it's to connect with people you think they are a good fit for your retreat and set up a retreat discovery call or a retreat sales call. And I know this sounds scary, yes?
No, I'm sure there's people listening going, do I have to?
Okay, think about this. I want to change a little bit of the mindset, about this one. But as we mentioned before, if you price your retreat in a way that it's profitable for you, that means it's a high ticket program. And when people are going to invest on a high ticket program, it's sometimes they're going to need that call. And so, first of all, there is nothing wrong to connect with people that you think they fit the profile of your ideal client, and to send them a message, and tell them, hey, I have pour all my love and all my energy creating this beautiful experience, and I think you would be a great fit for this. I would love to invite you to come. Please let me know if this is something that it would be on your radar, this is something that you would be interested in. And, if you have any questions, please, let's set up a call and I can walk you through the page or any questions that you may have. And that's something that you can be doing with people, and people are going to be fine with that. It's not that, you're going to be invasive or anything like that. And people actually, those who might be on the fences of booking, because maybe they are not feeling sure or something, they will appreciate that you are connecting with them, that you're going to take the time. Sometimes for some of them might be the last, kind of a little bit of support that they might need to make that choice, to go to your retreat. Maybe all that they need is to come with you on a call to see that, that you're there, that you're the leader, and that you're going to be the person that is going to take them through the experience. So that's something that I would recommend to do as well.
I guess you can probably think of it maybe a little bit less like a hard sort of sales call and more a support call, and like from a customer service perspective kind of thing, and opening up that container that you intend to carry on throughout the retreat.
Absolutely. And that's a very good point, Adrian. And also, I like to see it also as a discovery call, because sometimes you may have someone that is interested. Say that you have someone that is interested in your retreat. I think it's a good idea to have a call with them, because maybe even though they are interested in to come into your retreat, maybe they are not going to be a good fit for your retreat. Or maybe your retreat, it's not a good fit for them. In that case, I would also consider, what am I going to do? Am I going to get this person if I feel that they are not going to be a good match for the energy? And in that case, I would think that they may not be the right person for the retreat, and that's okay too.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So this discovery call, support call, whatever you want to call it, this is a good opportunity for all of that.
And I mean, people usually will appreciate that if you're honest about that, and you think and if there's one person that's going to just be like, wow, throwing off the entire vibe and it's not fitting, then that's going to affect your entire event as well.
Yes. And usually you're going to feel that, during the call, if you get a call with someone, you're going to feel if there is some kind of energy that doesn't match the energy of your retreat or something, you're going to feel it during the call. For sure.
Yeah.
Another thing that you can consider is to consider affiliating with other professionals on a commission-based venture. That means that you can think about people are professionals that are working with people that are people from the same niche that your retreat is. You can connect with them and you can tell them about your offering, and you can also offer a commission. This is something that if you're going to do from the beginning, I want you to bear in mind that usually that commission, it's usually going to come off your profit. So also you want to make the decision here whether you want to do a affiliating program or not. Sometimes, especially for those yoga teachers who are running their first retreat, maybe the focus is not to do so much big revenue on the first retreat, but maybe having a nice group and getting a little bit of experience. So maybe that could be a good idea for those retreat leaders that are doing their first retreat, because that's going to help them with the marketing. It's going to help them to sell their spots. It's not going to be as good revenue, but they're going to have a group and they're going to have the whole experience.
Yeah, that's a really good point. What does success look like for you for this retreat, I guess, as well? And some of those, that first retreat, it might not be that you make all the money, but you actually learn how to do it. And that's
Exactly.
really good outcome.
Yeah, that's already winning, Maybe you didn't hit your revenue goals in your first retreat, but that doesn't mean it was a fail. Not at all. You get to run your first retreat, you get to get a lot of experience. Maybe you find out that this is the thing that you want to do for the rest of your life. Or maybe not. Maybe you think that, this is not what you want to do. That's very valuable as well.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 more points I have for you today, Adrian. Another point that I would consider here and this comes in terms of marketing, because I know marketing can feel very overwhelming for yoga teachers, and with retreats there is a lot of marketing involved, and there are so many ways in which you want to bring the word out there. Some things are strategies that you might have worked in the past with. Some things you might have to be creative. And one of the things that I know can be helpful is to reach other people that, again, professionals who speak to people that fit the profile of your ideal client, and to offer to go to their YouTube channel, podcast, Instagram Live, whatever that is. That in a way you can put yourself in front of the audience and, this is another way also to put the word out there so that other people can see what you have as an offering.
Yeah, this comes back to talking about it all the time. Probably going to talk about it with people that you weren't expecting that you thought you might want to talk about it, but it's at the start as well.
Exactly. You want to think, what are all of those creative, strategic ways in which you can put the word out there so that people who would be willing to join your retreat are gonna find it easier to find this. Yeah. And the final point that I want to share with you, Adrian, here, is to stay consistent and to don't give up. Yes.
Too soon. Yeah.
Yes.
There's a nine hack there as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need to be consistent, and I usually like to plan things way in advance, knowing that, all of the weeks or following months that are coming, what are the things that I need to focus, and just try to be consistent. And sometimes it may happen that, it might be a long time that you are not seeing the bookings that you were expecting or something like that, and things are not going as you imagined before, and you still need to keep going and to be consistent.
Yeah. Do you have any tips around that and like how to manage that and stay in that sort of solution focused mindset rather than letting the panic take over if it's not selling the way you were hoping it to is at the time?
Absolutely. So first of all, you want to create a robust marketing plan in advance. And you don't want to go with the flow. This is something that I talked about before. You don't want to leave the things open and to market now and then. To me, I found it's more effective to know that I have certain things to do. I've written all of them down because it's going to be easier for me to then go and execute. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good advice.
So if you want to do, like, let's say your retreat, it's on the next 6 months, and you want to do like 4 social media posts, so to speak, each month, you're going to get the calendar and you're going to set up that, and you're going to say, okay, this month I need to do 4 posts, what those posts are going to be about, and just get to write those posts and then just posting them. That's something that is going to help you achieve that consistency, especially when you get into that, low energy kind of panic attack. This is not selling as I expected. At least you know that you are sticking to the plan. Another thing that I would recommend is to be gentle on yourself. Doing the marketing work, as I mentioned before, can be quite hard sometimes, can feel quite lonely as well. And so you want to make sure that you give yourself enough time to breathe, to go out in nature, to do your practice, to do the things that you want to do, that you need to do just to take you out of your mind of kind of, a little bit of a staying in other space. And it's going to change your energy, when you like kind of take a break and get out of the hamster wheel, so to speak, of marketing, and just get to do different things. And even meeting with different people, different circles of people, they might give you also different ideas or some inspiration. And finally, the last thing that I would do is also to ask for guidance and support. If you feel that this is too much for you, if you feel that this is overwhelming, look for someone that like and trust, and ask for support, because this is eventually, it's going to go.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I haven't run the retreat yet, but just from running the summit, it's already sort of event, it's definitely a roller coaster ride in emotions through different phases of it that you have to be prepared for. And planning a retreat is very, very much the same. And yeah, definitely allowing yourself space out of it. It ties into what you were talking earlier about making sure you're excited when you're sharing these things as well. And if you're getting yourself too stressed, then it's not going to come off as like being a happy, like exciting experience. Yes.
So it is. Absolutely. And all of that we can feel. All of that.
Yeah. And then the support as well to remind you and sort of pull you back in when you're getting kind of like swept away in your own kind of roller coaster as well. It's on to pass. So this is like a pretty 10-step like plan you've got. Does that process change very much, whether it's your first retreat or your 10th retreat? Like once you kind of pattern down, can you kind of follow that, or did there some things that'll change?
Yeah, I think things get easier. The more you do retreats, the easier it gets. Especially if you're gonna repeat the same retreat, you already have a lot of the marketing material. You already have a sense of what worked well and what didn't work so well with the marketing material. So I guess the more you do, the easier it becomes in a way. So yeah, usually the first one is going to be possibly more challenging for the organization and also for the enrollment as well, because once you have people who came to your retreat, if they like the experience, they are also likely to come to more retreats. So after 10 retreats, that marketing might be a little bit that marketing might be a little bit, in a way, less difficult to do because you already have the experience, you already have the material, and so on. Usually, if you are working on your first retreat, during the marketing, you really need to work on putting the word out there because many people don't know that you are running retreats. As for if you've been running like a few retreats already, people already know that you run retreats. And so in that way, also, it's going to make it a little bit easier. People are going to be more familiar with your offering. So overall, I think it becomes easier. And of course, then it depends on so many other factors. But I would say the organization and the marketing, it will become easier the more retreats you do.
Yeah, that comes back to that learning curve. So be prepared for a huge learning curve for your first one, and then it's going to get easier from there on out.
Yeah, but it's gonna be fine. The funny thing here, Adrian, I think is like when you are doing your first retreat, you find like, oh my gosh, everything is going so well. I didn't realize. But then when you do the second one, you are like, oh my gosh, how could I do all of these things? Maybe you do things that you are not aware of, or you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
But I would say just do it. Do it anyway because you're gonna learn for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Have you got any last advice that you would like to share for someone that wants help off the bat or is thinking about offering their first retreat?
Absolutely. The first one that I would say it's go on a retreat yourself. Just go on a retreat and experience from the customer side perspective. See how it feels to be on a retreat, or maybe even support someone that you know. Maybe your yoga teacher, it's running a retreat, and you can offer some support in there, and so you can also see a little bit of the customer perspective, because I would assume that you would also participate in some of the classes, but you would also see the retreat organization perspective. You would be like kind of in between, right? So those are two things that maybe you could consider doing. Another thing is, I mentioned this at the beginning of the interview, but give yourself at least 6 to 12 months in advance to plan all of that. Be generous on yourself on the time, be gentle on yourself. That's something that for sure you want to do. And also invest some time on deciding the place and the venue that you want to run your retreat, because it is also going to be important to understand all of the logistics, not only to traveling to that place, if the retreat is going to be outside of your country, but also the hotel, understand what is the contract with the hotel, what are the deposit that you need to pay, cancellation policies, and all of that. Those are things that you can already start exploring. And finally, the one that I would say it's also we mentioned this before today, but create a powerful website, and not a website, but a landing page. A landing page. And as I mentioned before, this could be on your website or it could be on any other website, but somewhere where people can go and see all of the information about your retreat, and they can also book the spot.
Awesome. All right, rapid fire question time. If you could turn to yourself in your first year of becoming a business owner and an entrepreneur, what advice would you give?
All right, I'm going to say two. First of all, start by focusing on one single niche and seek for guidance and support.
That's very good advice. Yeah. Awesome.
Those are the two things I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. I think some of the seeking support as well is something that I know I have early, and I would agree with you there. We'll put off because sometimes it could be like expensive or something, but it will really help guide you. It's really good advice. And how can people connect and learn more? You've got a boot camp coming up next year. Did you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Adrian. The best way to find me is my website, yogabizmentor.com. I also tend to hang out a lot on Instagram. I'm Yoga Biz Mentor on Instagram. And my business bootcamp is coming in Thailand next year in April 5th to the 12th, 2025 in Thailand. And it's not technically a retreat because this is a bootcamp, and we're going to be learning about business, learning about marketing, doing experiential activities as well, and so on. But although it's not a retreat, but it has all of the elements a retreat would have. So for anyone who is looking right now to, perhaps you are in the process of marketing, creating your website, deciding your retreat, I also would invite them to have a look at the landing page that I've created. You can find that in my website under yogabizmentor.com. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you again, Manu, and this was a really fascinating conversation. I always appreciate all of the wisdom you have to share. So thanks so much
for the opportunity, Adrian. My pleasure, my big pleasure to be here.
Thanks.